Hey everyone. I don't know if you've been looking on Amazon or eBay and seen some really cool LED taillights for your CX-5. And you buy them on eBay, and of course they have no installation instructions at all. So anyway, I thought I would take the time and make a video of how I installed them, and we'll go from there. So I guess first we can go over the equipment that you need. So of course, for eBay's guide on how to do this, they just give you a little wiring diagram and give you no instructions whatsoever. I wanted to show you what I used to kind of successfully get through it. First thing, you'll need your actual light. Mine, I think, were the iJDM buy or whatever. So here's the actual light, and it comes with some really junky mounting bracket and screws, but whatever. Anyway, next you'll need a screwdriver, a Phillips, and a flathead. Some black electrical tape. If you want to do it really well, you can solder it in, which is what I did. You can also just use the tape, but I don't want to risk it on a nice car, so I did soldering and a solder iron here, and then some wire cutters and crimpers. You can use a little socket wrench to help you take some of the bolts off. I believe it's a 5/16. And then just a little razor blade to help you get through stuff. And that's basically all you'll need, but it's just kind of annoying to get stuff done. So the basic principle to get this out is we want to pop this old reflector, which doesn't actually have a light, and pop it out of the car. And to do that, you can either pop the whole entire bumper cover off, which is a lot of work, or what I figured out you can do is you can actually kind of hook a wire through and pull up the wiring, because we're going to have to wire it to the actual tail light. So anyway, I'll show you how to get the tail light out. There's going to be a little cover on the tail light, and you can get a Phillips screwdriver, pop it open, and then there'll be two screws here and here. You unscrew those, and then you're going to kind of pull on the tail light out. There's a little tab, which you can see here. And so you want to kind of pull it towards the back of the car to open the taillight up. And then in here you'll see your bulbs and stuff. And so what you want to do is with both lights, there's a turn light and a backup light, and a brake light, I guess I should say. You want to twist those and release. And then there's a second one underneath that you want to twist and release. And so after I popped off the taillight, you can see there's also this little bracket, which you can unclip. Kind of slip it off the light so you can set your light aside. Then I actually take out my tail bulbs, my taillight bulbs, just so they don't get in the way. So anyway, we're going to have to drag up the wiring harness from underneath to up here later. So we will get to that in a little bit. So our next step, I actually have mud guards on my CX-5, but if you don't, there'll just be these two bolts underneath. So you're going to remove those two bolts with a screwdriver and then move along from there. Okay, so I've removed my mud guards, but anyway, there would be two clips or screws there, the one right here that you would unscrew. And basically, we want to get to this panel behind here. So the spots that you have to do to release it are the two bolts here, two little screws here, one kind of further back in. So you have the two there, and then there's one right here, which is a screw. A clip. So two screws and a clip up top. And then underneath the car, there is two screws, so your rear tire, and then behind it, there's going to be one screw here, which I already removed for the mudguard, and then a second one here. And that'll help you get this access panel out. So I'm going to take those out with the socket or screwdriver of your choice. So after you've taken out the bolts up here, and the kind of popping tab here and the two bolts underneath, you want to pop the bumper trim out. And so how you do that is I usually start at the bottom, and you apply a lot of force. There's little tabs that are holding it in kind of every 3 or 4 inches, which I'll show you in a second. And you really only have to pop it to about here. But that's holding that piece in. So we want to pop this tab off. So I use a lot of force and pop it out. So once again, I just pulled like this And you can see the green tabs that are holding it in, they just go straight in and out. And so you just want to be pulling out. So I've released, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I've popped out 4. And behind those tabs, you can see these little tabs that you have to pop out. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll help you loosen up the part behind there. So you're going to take those out with a screwdriver, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we popped the tabs out. Now you'll see right here, it's clipped on 2 spots. So you can pull it forward and kind of move this part out. And there it is. So that kind of sits behind the bumper. So now we have access. I'll see if I can get my camera right up in here. So now here I am underneath the CX-5, and you can see the old light here that we're going to take out. It's attached by 3 screws, one in the bottom middle, one on the right corner here, kind of the side, and then all the way back in the top corner. So you can use a screwdriver and take those out, and then the light, because it's just a reflector, it has no wires, will just come right back in. You don't need to unscrew any of these other screws sitting here, just kind of the bottom 3. Okay, so you can see that we've removed the light. Mounting points is 1, 2, and 3 back there. By the way, a little side note, this last tab is just kind of tack welded, plastic welded on the side. It gets really loose. And so if you see issues with people having their lights getting loose, usually the problem is this top, you can see it's only laminated on by 1 on the top there. That's come loose. So if you can get some like plastic weld, JB plastic weld, you can fix your reflector instead of having to buy a whole new bumper cover. So anyway, we took off the light, and now we're ready to install our new one, but we need to get the wire up there, so that's our next issue. Okay, so our next problem is we want to put our beautiful lights in, right? But there's no power down there in the United States and Canadian market CX-5s. So we're going to have to run the wire in the bumper up to there. And you can see our end of our wiring harness here. So my strategy is I park it down here and wait for it. And then actually I guess I could have included this in the equipment needed. But I use a coat hanger, the old trick, and then kind of work my way down behind the bumper cover. There's a radar sensor, kind of the cross traffic alert or whatever, in some models of the CX-5. So you don't want to crash that. But basically it's a clean pass down to collect the wire. And so you can see down here, I fed the end of the coat hanger down, got my little electric tape, and taped the end of the wiring harness for our light in it. And I guess I could run it through here, since the light is going to be kind of set from the inside out. So anyway, I have my lighting harness sitting there. I guess I can rest it against the tire. And then I go up here, I have my electrical cord, and then I just kind of gently pull it up and collect my wire. And here I just brought it up, it's still attached, and we're going to sit it there for now. So our next goal is we kind of have the light in. You can do whichever you prefer, if you want to install the light first or wire it. Personally, I installed the light first, so we're going to do that next. To do that, we're just going to use our new light, which is sitting in this bracket. And once again, just like this is our old light, I'll just use this to show you. You're going to use the same stock 3 screws to attach it back in. So 1, 2, and 3. And you'll attach it right where you found the old one. Our mounting hardware, which is this little plate. And basically it's replacing Mazda's much better and stronger plate on the outside of the car. So you will attach it to the outside of our light, which is going to be right here. You're going to use these 3 little brackets, and it has 3 really crappy little screws in the bag. You can see them there to attach. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll be ready to put in our light. Okay, so what I did was I installed that kind of replacement bracket with the 3 screws and our new light, and then I popped it into place. It's not very hard to get into place. And usually they come wrapped with like a plastic liner. So what I do is I peel that back just enough, and then I kind of reattach it to the car, and that will hold it in place while we go underneath and screw it in place.
And here we are underneath. So this is with our new light installed. You can see the 3 crappy screws that we put in per their instructions, which were not there, and our normal screws that we screwed back in. So 1, 2, and 3. It's nice and snug, and we can see our wire kind of disappearing up into the bumper. So now let's go wire it in and see how it works. Okay, so here we are. We have our wire coming out, and if we check, there is, I believe, 4 different little wires coming out. We have a green, yellow, red, and black. And if you go to their guide, they say that the green is the driving light, yellow is the turn signal, red is the brake, and black is negative. Well, if you look on our car, we don't have these 4 colors that are coming out. So basically what you have to realize is that brown is the equivalent of green. So basically you just want to match up the wires as best as you can. So you're going to do a black to black, red to red. That's pretty easy. We know that this is our turn signal bulb. So therefore the green is going to replace the yellow. So we're going to wire green to yellow. And then brown is going to go to our remaining option, which in this case is green. So green wire from our actual lead. So what you want to do is take your wire cutter, and in this case the gauge of the wire is an 18. These are all 18 gauge wires. And you want to cut a little window in each of these stock wires that we want to access, and then we're going to solder in, or you can just tape in, our new leads. So we're going to kind of steal the power from those. So I usually, and I'll show you in a second, but I make my cuts kind of a little off, just give you a little bit of room off the wiring harness here. So anyway, I'll cut those and show you what it looks like after I'm done. Okay, so you can see here I stripped off the little pieces of wiring for the 4 wires I want. Remember, we don't need 2 black wires. We only need 1 black wire to give us power. So I stripped off little sections. Sometimes it's a little hard to just use a wire or a vice grip, snips. So you can use a razor blade to kind of trim off a little extra, so you have 4 pieces. What you want to do next is create little holes, kind of like create a little hole in the fibers of the wire, and you're going to place your actual wires from our new lights into those little slots. So I just kind of make a slot like that, and then you put your next one in, your next wire in there, and kind of twist it and smash it and get it ready for soldering. If you don't want to solder it, then you could just tape them up with electrical tape. Okay, so here you can see I've taken my black to black and my yellow to green. I put them through the little holes there, and then I kind of smash them and twist them. If you want to just put electrical tape on, you don't have a soldering gun, or you don't want to worry about soldering, I think you'd be just fine. But I just kind of go the extra mile and solder them up, and so I'm going to do that now. And here they are soldered. So the next step is going to be taking electrical tape and wrapping them carefully. And I just do 2 at a time, so I'll wrap them up, and then we'll check the light. Okay, so we've taped them off, our 2 wires. I have my stock turn signal back, which happens to be an LED. And then we have our light down here. So how you check it is you basically just hit the unlock button, and that function is working. Okay, and so I did my last 2 wires. So I ran red into red and then green into brown, and then soldered them up. So I'm just going to tape them with electrical tape individually, and then I'm going to take all 4 wires and looms and wrap them all with electrical tape. And then we'll be ready to put things back and check this light and make sure it works. Okay, so I've coated them all, and I have both my lights in. I have another kind of custom LED light. And so I'll take my key. I also got this off Amazon for $10, the leather key coat. And you'll just kind of unlock it, and we see that it's working on this side as well. So there we go. We have them all wired up. We're basically done our installation guide. So everything from now on is putting everything back. So you take your original light, and you're going to carefully tuck in your old light bulbs, and then we're going to reinstall our bumper trim. Remember that's the little tabs in there. So we install this piece first, which is our 4 tabs and 3 screws and another tab. And then we slap back in our bumper protector, and then lastly we put on our mud guard if you have it. And then you can have someone else step on the brakes and make sure the brake light's working and everything works. And so I'll show you a video of that next.
Anyway, guys, here we are after the completed installation. I'll show you the video of it working. But overall, I think it's doable. It's terrible that all these eBay companies never give you instructions. Took me probably about an hour, but it's definitely doable. And I hope these were some useful advice on how to get these things installed. That's all.